unbreakable code, right? 7 terms, crazy high powers. Where would you even begin? It seems impossible. But trust me, there's a secret simplicity hiding in there, and we're about to find it. Now, any good detective knows you can't just charge in head first. We're not going to try to solve this with brute force. No, no. We've got to be methodical. We have a special set of tools, an investigative technique that lets us poke and prod at this thing until we find its hidden weak spot. And this is our secret weapon. It's called the summation method. Now, don't get hung up on the name. That's not what's important. What is important is what it does. Think of it like this. We're dusting the crime scene for fingerprints. We're not trying to solve the whole case at once. We're just looking for those tiny hidden patterns that will tell us the real story. So, how does this dusting for fingerprints actually work? Well, it's a pretty straightforward 3-step process. First, we're going to run a series of simple tests on our equation, just using basic numbers starting with 0. Step 2, we write down everything we find, every little result. And step 3, and this is the big one, we look at our notes and find the breakthrough pattern that's going to crack this thing wide open. All right, our toolkit is ready. We know the plan. It's time to put on our detective hats and get to work. Let's start gathering some clues. The investigation is officially underway. First things first, our investigation kicks off with our very first test number, k equals 0. We're going to plug this into our method and see what it spits back out. This is our first potential piece of evidence, the first fingerprint at the scene. And boom, we've got our first result. The test for k equals 0 gives us a 1. Now, the key thing here is that it's not 0. That means we found something. This is a real clue, a solid piece of evidence. Let's log it and see what's next. So, 1 clue down. Let's move on to our next test for k equals 1. And this is where things start to get really, really interesting. A very curious pattern is about to show itself. Whoa, look at that. For k equals 1, the result is 0. Now, you might think, okay, a 0, that's a dead end, right? Nothing to see here? But in any investigation, sometimes finding nothing is actually an important clue. It tells us where the real action isn't. So let's keep that in mind and press on. We keep digging. The investigation continues with our next test, k equals 2. And this turns out to be a huge breakthrough moment. Get ready, because we're about to find our second major clue. There it is, another 1, just like our very first test. We found a second, totally separate fingerprint. This is huge. We have 2 non-zero results now, at k equals 0 and k equals 2. This is not a coincidence. This is the pattern we've been searching for. But then, just as things are getting exciting, the trail seems to go cold. We run all the rest of our tests for k equals 3, 4, 5, and 6, and they all give us the same pretty boring result. And there you have it, 0, 0, 0, and 0. It's like static on the radio, just a bunch of noise that seems to be clouding our investigation. It feels like we've hit a brick wall. But have we? Or is this noise actually telling us something really important? And this right here, this is the key to the entire case. A good detective knows how to separate the signal from the noise. All those zeros we found, that was just the noise, the distractions, the dead ends. The real clues, the signal that actually matters, came from the 2 non-zero results we got, k equals 0 and k equals 2. Turns out, these are the only 2 pieces of evidence we need. So, we've gathered our evidence. We've separated that crucial signal from all the distracting noise. And now it's time for the final act. We're going to use these clues to crack the code once and for all. And this is the magic of what we just did. Those 2 simple signals we found, those 1s at k equals 0 and k equals 2, they are incredibly powerful. They let us cut right through all of that crazy complexity we saw at the beginning and reveal a beautifully simple idea that was hiding underneath it all along. So let's take one last look at our original puzzle, that massive, intimidating, 7-term beast of a polynomial. It looks just as complicated as it did when we first laid eyes on it. But it's not, because our 2 little clues, our signal, allow us to completely transform it into this. Can you believe it? All of that complexity just melts away, and we're left with this clean, simple equation. X squared times the quantity x to the 4th plus 8 all equals 0. And you know what? From here on out, the hard work is done. The deep investigation is over. With this super simplified version, actually solving for the roots is, Well, it's pretty easy. The puzzle is basically solved. We can just break this down into two much smaller, much easier money puzzles. I mean, for that whole thing to equal zero, one of two things has to be true. Either the left part, x squared, has to be zero, or the right part, x to the fourth plus 8, has to be zero. Simple as that. And when we solve those two tiny equations, we get our 6 culprits, the 6 roots we were looking for all along. From x squared equals 0, we get x equals 0, what's called a double root. And from x to the fourth equals negative 8, we find our other 4 roots, which happen to be complex numbers. And just like that, the case is closed. So the biggest takeaway here is that a problem that looked completely